So I thought it might be helpful to start if you just gave us all a bit of a history of the Noble Foundation. Now you've got the Noble Research Institute. Sort of, give us the broad view of where y'all came from and where you're kind of at now.
Okay, Noble Foundation, the Samuel Roberts Noble Foundation, was started in 1945. It was started by Lloyd Noble. His family set the organization up as a private foundation. The first grant they ever made was 1946, so a long history of philanthropy, but also immediately started doing things in demonstrations. And you asked the question about Noble Research Institute versus Noble Foundation. We did that under the umbrella of the Samuel Roberts Noble Foundation till 2017. We started having a conversation about maybe splitting those organizations up. We had a conversation at breakfast. I feel like I've been talking forever. We had a conversation.
You're good. It's all interesting. Keep going.
We had a conversation at breakfast of the challenges of being an organization that gives money away and at the same time being an organization that actually conducts a lot of operations. And it bothered the board, which is still the descendants of Mr. Noble, because it's a challenge for the organization and how you're perceived and how you work with other partner organizations. So in 2017, we broke the foundation into two pieces. And so there is a Samuel Roberts Noble Foundation that still exists today. They give away philanthropy, they give away grants and scholarships. And then we kept all the history from 1945, the people, the land, the buildings, and we put that in the Noble Research Institute and have been operating that way since 2017. The thing that we learned the most is communication is key, and you can't say anything enough. And the other piece to it is no matter how much you communicate something, if it's not what your heart wants to do, you're still going to have a roadblock.
We'll talk a little bit about the work. You mentioned, this renewed focus you have trying to get everybody on the same team. I did a survey about a year or two ago and asked just the general public, what is regenerative agriculture? Only about a third of the people said they had heard of that term, and I'm not sure they're even if that's even accurate or not.
Right.
But what does that mean for y'all? What's the work that you're doing in terms of your strategic focus now?
Right. So regenerative is oftentimes polarizing. It's got different roots. It goes all the way back to the Savory Institute with some, and that he has his own messages that sometimes can cloud it. Basically, we look at the idea of how do you manage the land first and foremost. So if you look at our purpose statement, and I go through this relatively slowly because sometimes I butcher the words, but our purpose is to save U.S. grazing lands. And we do that by promoting land stewardship through management. And that's a key phrase. You can't leave this land by itself. You can't just expect it's going to heal itself with no management. So it takes a certain level of management. Building soil health. Mr. Noble talked about it. It probably looked a little different in the mid-1940s than what it looks like today, but it basically is talking about how do you use plants and grazing to care for your soil as opposed to a lot of amendments and inputs that are costly. And the last piece of our purpose is to keep farmers and ranchers on the land. And so this goes back to the economics. This goes back to giving them a toolkit. If they're gone, these grazing lands are gone. Basically, there was a psychology study that said if you tip 25% of a population, no matter what population, it begins to take off and exponentially grow on its own. So we calculated our numbers based on the 17 census, and we looked at cattle producers of 20 head or more. And so our tipping point is 86,000 producers and 164 million acres of land. So it's incredibly ambitious. We can't do it alone. We have to partner with everybody to try to get this, which has got its own challenges because how you teach soil health management in the pasture may be slightly different than what we do. So we're not to that hurdle yet of trying to align those metrics, but we believe to save the industry, it's going to take a tipping point of roughly 25%.